I think I figured out what took Josh so long to get his RCPC done. 14th scale lot lizards. Welcome back to the Scale Builders Guild. Thanks again for watching. It's the final episode of the RCPC project, where Josh from Harley Designs and myself have taken these Tamiya 14th scale semi-trucks and trailers and added a gaming PC to them. EVGA was happy enough to provide us with all the parts required to make a functioning gaming PC inside these tractor trailers. And Tamiya, of course, provided the tractor trailers. And I have to thank them both profusely for allowing us to do this absolutely crazy, out there project. Because let's be honest, this isn't something that really has a lot of purpose. But I'm really thrilled with the results. It's awesome. I don't know really where to begin, so let's just begin with how everything has kind of come together. As you can see, all the weathering and everything is done to the trailer. I spent a lot of time getting these logos on there and making it look like it's a weathered container. I thought that was kind of the coolest part of this whole thing, is hiding the fact that it's a PC. You look at it and it just looks like an RC tractor trailer. There's nothing on the outside really that would lead you to believe that this is a fully functioning gaming PC. Other than a few additional cables coming out of the front and a display on the back, and I'll talk about that display right there in a second, there's really nothing that would make you think anything otherwise than this just being a 14th scale semi-truck. In previous episodes, you saw me paint and detail and build the actual tractor portion of this tractor trailer. This is a Mercedes-Benz Actros 3363, and it's a cool looking Euro style truck. And I wanted to do something a little bit different. I know Josh went with a more American style and then stretched the frame and did all kinds of silly things to it. But I wanted something that, kind of looked like something I would imagine exists in real life. Whereas his can't be driven anywhere because it's way too long. The whole point of this was to put these trucks through some challenges. And of course, half of them are going to be driving challenges and the other half are going to be PC benchmarking challenges that we both agreed to before we got started. And this video is going to be the result, basically, of all of those tests. I'll take you through some of the benchmarking tests, and then we'll go through all of the driving tests as well. And we tried to be as generous as we could with some of those driving tests because both of us have very little experience with tractor trailers, and these are not easy to drive. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. This is complicated. Very complicated. But after all of that driving, I can honestly say I'm going to miss not having this in the collection. I decided long ago that I was going to send mine off to EVGA so they could use it for any promotional stuff they may be doing on the road. Yes. And I just wanted to kind of give it back to them and say thank you for all the extra stuff that they've done for me over the years. So this will be going down to California, and they can use it however they see fit. And they can also play Euro Truck Simulator right away. I'll just leave my Steam account open for them. So don't buy any more games. I love the construction, the building of these trucks. I think they're just amazing. Tamiya did an amazing job with them. I'm really honestly sold on the idea. And after driving it, I get it now. I really 100% get it. These are a blast to drive. They're very challenging. And I can see how if you had a whole bunch of people with them, going through all the challenges and the minutia of driving a semi-truck realistically could be very fun. So I totally understand that. And I can definitely see myself getting another one of these in the future. Okay, on to some of the benchmarking challenges. What we wanted to do was make sure that we had similar hardware almost exactly the same hardware. In fact, in order to make sure this test was as fair as possible, it's really going to come down to thermals and how the PC actually reacts to these benchmarking tests. So let's head over to the desktop and we'll show you some of those benchmarks. As you can see, Windows 10 is fully functional on the rear screen that I've installed on the back of the truck itself. There we are, all logged in. You've got all kinds of stuff going on. Steam is installed, Euro Truck Simulator is installed, and that's sort of the game that we kind of benchmarked with. No problems whatsoever getting 60 FPS out of this system. Very easy. Euro Truck Simulator is not a graphics intensive game by any means, but it does prove that this works as a gaming PC. I wouldn't recommend gaming on this monitor. It is pretty small. Not a lot of resolution to be had there. It's sort of, more than anything, it was a proof of concept to show that all-in-one this truck will function as a PC, and there is a screen so you can use it. There is an HDMI out and a USB out as well. So if you did want to use say some other monitor, which I did for most of the benchmarking, you can just plug that HDMI cable in and then you've got audio as well. One other thing I did want to mention, this screen on the back of the trailer, and let me see if I can get a better look at it here. There we go. It's unwieldy on the bench, let's put it that way. Let's just do a quick zoom in here on that. This little screen here is from a company called GlowCube, and it's actually a monitoring, like a system monitoring app. And that should fire up there. There we go. So now you see that it shows CPU usage, GPU usage, what the brand of GPU is, and its internal temperature, which is amazing. It's so cool to see all that information without having to look at the actual monitor. I thought it was a cool way to kind of update this trailer a little bit and show off some internal features of what's going on with that PC. So I'm pretty pleased with how that turned out. Nice little piece of software, and just 3D printed my own little shroud to hold that monitor in place. And that's a little OLED screen that came with the GlowCube. Very cool stuff. I'll put a link down below if anybody's interested in that. And in fact, if you're enjoying this video and you appreciated the craziness of this series, hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you get updates anytime there's a new video from the Scale Builders Guild. All right, back to benchmarking. I use Cinebench R23, which is sort of the best sort of benchmarking program out there. It does single core and multi-core tests, and what it does is it renders this 3D scene and then spits out a number for you based on the performance of your processor and sort of the whole system of the computer. And I've sped it up here because it does take a long time for the multi-core test, and ended up with two numbers, 1065 on the single core and 5831 on the multi-core. And I think those are pretty good for an i5 chip. During the entire time that I was running these tests, I was also checking the temperatures, because that's sort of, the thermals are super important as well. And during those tests, the temperature sort of peaked out at about 55 degrees Celsius on the CPU and about 37 degrees Celsius on the GPU. And of course, we are running an all-in-one cooler on the CPU, so temperatures do stay definitely lower than they would if we were just air cooling this system. So kudos to EVGA, and thanks for sending that piece along. Now that you've got an idea of the benchmarks and where this system fits into the sort of whole PC ecosystem, what kind of games would you run on it? I'm sure Mud Runner or Spin Tires, any of the Spin Tires games would be popular. But what else out there that's sort of a driving game would you recommend? Let me know what you would think. Put it down in the comments. I love reading through your feedback, and I try to answer as many of them as I can. For the driving challenges, we decided on 3. There was going to be a slalom of 50 feet, 5 cones, each 10 feet apart. See how fast we can get through that slalom. I think I'm at a slight advantage because I do have a shorter overall length, whereas Josh decided to stretch his frame for looks. Bad choice, Josh. Secondly, we did a challenge where we were required to back up, hook up the trailer, pull forward, do a full 360-degree turn, and then reverse back into the spot that we created, which had 2 inches on either side of the trailer as sort of like some wiggle room for reversing. Again, not an easy challenge, certainly not for me, having very little experience with anything with a trailer. And finally, we also did a 50-foot reverse challenge, where we saw how fast we could go over 50 feet only traveling in reverse. And it's not nearly as easy as it sounds. In fact, none of these challenges were easy. They all presented some significant challenges. I found myself struggling through a lot of these challenges, but I think I'm pretty happy with the times that I was able to put in. All of those challenges were timed in seconds and frames, and in our case, there are 24 frames per second in all of this film world that we're working in. So that's what we'll be measuring, and that's the numbers you're going to see in the challenges as they go forward. So let's just get right to them. So there you go. That's how this all went down. And I'm really pleased. I had an amazing time with this challenge. The building and the construction and the thought required to make all of these PC components fit into this container made it really amazing. I am really thrilled with the results. And I'm also really thrilled with the results of Josh's build. I know that we both took slightly different routes. His looks more like a computer because you can see some of the guts inside of it. Mine, not a computer at all. More of just a scale model, which is really sort of my wheelhouse anyway. But I did love the challenge of hiding everything and making this feel like just plain old everyday Tamiya Semi. It was pretty amazing. Thanks again to EVGA and Tamiya for providing us with all the parts necessary to make this build happen. I am really thrilled that they even thought this was a halfway decent idea, because I knew it was going to be great. Thanks to Josh for participating, and may the best man win. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you again soon.